advanced podcastonomics. It's that called podcast. Kevin and Matt about to show you exactly the podcast dropping to generate his status. It's that called stack like Trish Stratus. Kevin and Matt discuss topics. It matters to keep the coverage on lock like it's Chris Masters. Using wrestling and rap, Sean Craft to blend perfect. Even Dillinger gotta say that's a 10. Keep it Boston strong. New England's own broadcasting so the whole world can bring it home. From New Japan to Vince brand and back to the Indies. On SoundCloud where the hits land. Old fans welcome. Lost to the small suit. Those smarten up. All those in the dark suit. The stack car about to gear up. They've been a podcast tag team.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Stacked Card Podcast. I'm Matt, and I'm here to review yesterday's events that transpired at Beyond Wrestling. There was tournament for today 1, then tournament for today 2, and from what I heard, it was about 10 hours of some of the best wrestling fans have seen in their entire life. Thank you to my good friend she read me the results as I was unable to make the show. However, I'm here to bring you guys the results just in case you guys missed out on it. Starting off on tournament for today 1, there was Chris Hero going up against Kingpin, Brian Milonas. Now, this match here was pretty interesting because you have Chris Hero, who haven't seen him in Beyond Wrestling in a couple of months, I believe. And now Kingpin, Brian Milonas, was feuding with JT Dunn. That feud came to an end, and we haven't seen JT Dunn, and I guess he's gone from Beyond Wrestling, as it seems. So Hero was playing the hero role and trying to knock off Kingpin, Brian Milonas, and he was successful in doing so. Hero defeated Milonas in the first match of the night, and what a way to kick off the show. I mean, this took place at Aurora in Providence, Rhode Island, and Chris Hero is one of the greatest independent wrestlers, I believe, in the world. I think he just brings all that excitement and that energy, and Brian Milonas is also very, very agile for such a big guy, and I just think this match was definitely one of the most explosive matches of the night. Speaking of explosive, next match was Dijak versus John Silver, and from what I heard, this match could have been the best match of the year, and for all good reasons. Dijak, as we spoke about on the show before, Dijak has that strength, that power, and he is the ace of Beyond Wrestling. But John Silver, you can't count him out. I mean, he has victories over guys like Keith Lee, and John Silver is just one of the best athletes I've seen. However, Dijak was able to pick up the win to advance in the tournament. Next up, we had a women's wrestling match. We had Deonna Purrazzo taking on Alexis Navia, and Purrazzo won that match. That was a very good match as well. We've seen them both wrestle. We've seen a lot of these females on the card wrestle for the Women's Wrestling Revolution, I believe it is. And I mean, if you haven't, you definitely should go check out one of those shows. Basically, it's all the best independent female wrestlers on the scene. They compete against each other on one card, and it couldn't have been better. There was one back in July before American Rana. I believe it was July 27th. And some of those matches were just mind-blowing. So Purrazzo beat Navia to advance in the ladies section of the tournament. Then we had Jonathan Gresham, taking on Jaka, which Gresham took out Jaka. I'm a bit surprised. I mean, not surprised Gresham picked up the victory. However, I'm surprised that EYFBO did not get involved at all. But I guess, as I said yesterday, that's more of a Crusade thing to do. But that's why the Crusade's the best faction in wrestling history. I mean, I wish I had Darius Carter here, the captain of the Crusade, to talk about his success yesterday. But we'll get to that in a little bit. Then we got Kimberly taking on Sonya Strong, and this is a match I've actually been wanting to see for a while. I think these two if I was there, I would have really enjoyed to see these two go up against each other. It's something that I haven't seen happen before, so. And I don't think it has ever happened before, so. However, Kimberly did defeat Sonia Strong to advance in the females tournament. Then Matthew Riddle, which was the start of a long night for him, and his first round was up against Chris Dickinson, which is no easy feat. Chris Dickinson is main evented in multiple shows for Beyond Wrestling, so that just goes to show you where he stands in this business, and Riddle picked up the victory over Dickinson. Next match was Veda Scott versus Jessica Havoc. Havoc, we've seen her in Impact Wrestling in the past. She's just powerful. It's really hard to take her down. Somehow Veda Scott was able to pin her and win this match, and so she advanced in the tournament. There's many matches. It's going to be it's quite the event, I must say. This is only the second to last match on the first card, but we had Zack Sabre Jr. taking on Keith Lee. This is like if you say, well, I wouldn't use Goldberg as an example of Brock Lesnar, because neither one of them have been too big in the past years. I mean, Brock Lesnar has been, but as far as wrestling ability, he hasn't done too much. If I could compare it, Zack Sabre versus Keith Lee, I would say it's like, honestly, you can't compare it to anything. That's how good it is. I mean, maybe Kurt Angle versus Lesnar back in the day. You get that really athletic big guy, but then you have that submission technical wrestler who is very good on the ground. So this match, I heard, was one of the best matches of the night. Zack Sabre Jr. picked up the victory on Keith Lee with a roll-up. And we had Donovan Dijak in his... Now, this is his second match, and only on the first card. Him and Mikey Webb took on the Hit Squad. Hit Squad were the Tournament for Tomorrow winners last year, so you would expect, Hit Squad, they have all the momentum coming into this. However, Dijak and Mikey Webb ended up defeating the Hit Squad. And I believe Donovan Dijak did set a new record for the most amount of wins in a Beyond Wrestling event last night, because then he went on to have another huge success later on that night. Now let's start off with the second half of this tournament. The Crusade for Change. They had to go up against Scarlett and Graves, and I don't know. I mean, it's not even a challenge for the Crusade anymore. It's kind of like, who's going to be able to defeat these guys? And I've said it all year long, there's nobody as smart, there's nobody as powerful, there's nobody with the ability not to just out-wrestle them, but to outsmart them. You cannot defeat the Crusade for Change by just being a good wrestler. You have to have brains, you have to have everything it takes. I don't think there's any faction in the world that can defeat these guys. Noted that TJ Marconi last Beyond Wrestling show in Somerville was his last show, so Crusade went into this without their power, without their big guy, and still picked up a victory. This is their 11th consecutive win in Beyond Wrestling, and now they go into month 12 in December, so there will be an event on November 20th, and it's going to be in Worcester, Mass. It's called Insatiable. That's going to be an exciting event. Maybe the Crusade will have a match on that card, but we never know, because the Crusade never gets any recognition that they deserve. They are simply just looked past, and they deserve to be the face of every single poster that Beyond puts out. What does Crusade do? They make their own poster because, they're just simply the greatest. They deserve their own poster. So, Crusade could have 13 victories. There's another show in December as well, I believe, in Melrose. So, if the Crusade can pick up victories at the next two events, there you go. You can finish off the whole year undefeated. What I'm kind of hoping for is Crusade has a match end of December, and it's like, well, you guys only have 4 now. You don't have... Well, we know there are more members of the Crusade for Change. We just don't know who they are. It's more of a... There's a lot of followers. You just don't know who they are, and that's a great thing about this faction. But let's say another team looks at Crusade and says, hey, you got 4 without Marconi. If you guys really are the best, you can defeat us 5 versus 4 in a handicap match. Alright, just when you think, 2 months after Marconi being out, the Crusade is getting beaten down, it's 5 versus 4, looks like they're going to lose their final match of the year, but wait, lights go out, a big hooded man appears in the ring with a mask. Who the hell is it? It's TJ Marconi. He comes to the rescue of his faction, the Crusade for Change, and they pick up their final victory of the year. That would be like my fantasy booking, but we'll see. The booking in Beyond Wrestling is incredible, so I'll leave that to the experts. So the second round in the Women's Wrestling Revolution tournament, we had Veda Scott taking on Deonna Purrazzo. Veda Scott picked up the victory. First she defeated Havoc. Now she defeated Purrazzo. Both very talented and both very successful wrestlers. So she goes on to the finals. Then we have Matthew Riddle taking on Gresham. Now this match, Riddle already had to face Dickinson. Now he's got to face Gresham. And if you're talking about going into this night with preparation, I just don't think there's any way you can prepare if you're Matt Riddle. And here's a guy with a great MMA background, so he already knows different styles of wrestling. However, you got Dickinson, who is the power, Gresham, who is the more technical ground wrestler. So Riddle defeated the both of them and advanced into the finals of this tournament. Then we had Brian Fury taking on Warbeard Hansen, and I honestly, this is one match that I wish I was at the event to see. Brian Fury is retiring at the end of this year, and he's just, ace of Beyond Wrestling, sure. Ace of a company, sure. But when I look at Brian Fury, I look at the ace of New England. He has really dominated the independent scene in New England for a countless amount of years. And then going up against Hansen, I believe they did train together. I believe they trained together. Both are from the New England area. So, but Fury picked up a victory, and that was a real cool match, I can imagine, to see, because you have Hansen, who is huge in chaotic wrestling, then Fury, who is also pretty much the face of chaotic wrestling. So Fury defeated Hansen. Fury and Hansen this was not a tournament match. Fury was not in the tournament this year. He actually won the tournament for tomorrow last year. So him and the Hit Squad, I'm guessing, were not eligible to be in a tournament. Well, there was no tag team tournament this year. Anyway, then we got Kimber Lee taking on Taylor Hendricks. What I was confused about is, didn't Taylor Hendricks have to win a match to face Kimber Lee? Because Kimber Lee had to beat Sonya Strong to get to this match. Purrazzo had to beat Alexis Navia to go up against Vea Scott. Vea Scott had to win a match. So Taylor Hendricks, I don't know. It doesn't look, from the results I received, it didn't look like Taylor Hendricks had to win a match. Well, I mean, she's, amazing already, so we'll just give her a pass. Anyway, Kimberly defeated her with the chair. The chair was the dominant factor in this match. It took out Taylor Hendricks, and that was it. I could see that being a very, very aggressive match because both female competitors in that match are very, they're a brutal force, and most of the Beyond guys know what it's like to be in the ring, especially with Kimberly. She'll leave you scarred and, probably not walking well for the next month or so. Then we had Dijak taking on Zack Sabre Jr. And now, Dijak, as we know, beat John Silver. He had a tag match against the Hit Squad. Now he's facing Zack Sabre Jr. It's insane. He defeated Zack Sabre Jr. to advance into the finals against Matt Riddle. Then we saw the Secret City Soldiers taking on Massage MV, Johnny Cockstrong. Secret City Soldiers picked up the victory, which I was very happy about because David Cash, who is a part of the Secret City Soldiers, he was out, I believe it was a couple of months with a serious injury, and this is another one I wish I was there to see because him being back in the ring, doing what he loves, his passion. I remember he posted something on Facebook about a week ago saying, hey, look, I'm 36, but this is something that I've always loved and something I will always continue to love. This is what he, this is like one of the big monumental, parts of his life. And to see him come back and to have a match and especially pick up a victory, it's very emotional whenever anybody can come back and pick up a victory, because sometimes when you get taken out by an injury, especially in football, whatnot, wrestling, you don't know if you're going to come back the same way you left. You don't know if you're going to be as good as you were before because sometimes the injury never heals properly and it causes a lot of setbacks. So I'm just happy to have him back. Then we had Joey Janela taking on Hot Sauce Tracy Williams. Joey Janela picked up a victory, and man, when are we going to get David Starr back? Because I would love to close the year off with Joey Janela versus David Starr. I feel like these two really just... In David Starr and him at Aurora, where the event took place yesterday, they fought in the middle of the street. Joey Janela carjacked a car and then tried to run over David Starr in the middle of the street. Meanwhile, there's citizens and people from Providence, Rhode Island looking on, trying to figure out what is really going on here. You get guys in their tights outside throwing each other into lampposts, and it was just brutal. Those two, I think, if it wasn't for schedule conflict, I think those two had the potential to have the best feud, maybe all decade, that we've seen. Anyway, we go on to Team Pazuzu taking on the Gentlemen's Club and Drew Gulak, our Cruiserweight Classic competitor there. Team Pazuzu won, which I was very happy about. It looked like the odds were not in their favor. Dickinson lost to Riddle first round, and you had Jaka losing to Gresham in the first round. So Pazuzu really wanted to pick up this victory for their team, and they did. They beat Gentlemen's Club Andrew Gulak, who is not an easy feat by any means. Then we get the two final tournament matches. Kimberly taking on Veda Scott. Matthew Riddle taking on Donovan Dijak. Kimberly won. She beat Vita Scott in what I heard was a very competitive match. To wrestle that many matches, let me see, it was 1, 2. You're wrestling like 3 or 4 matches. Yeah, and that's just one day. I've heard people come out of matches and say that, it inflicts pain on your body, not just for that night, but for the next few days. So imagine wrestling 3 matches, especially against extremely competitive challengers. Kimberly had to go through Taylor Hendricks. Kimberly had to go through Sonya Strong. Veda Scott, even hats off to her. She beat Havoc and she beat Gianna Perazzo, so amazing there. These tournaments are brutal, though, these poor competitors, but hey, that really, that's why this tournament is different from anything else, and this is why I recommend you next November, go watch this, go be there live and experience it, because these are the greatest athletes on earth, and the pain they endure and still compete at 100%. They compete, incredible. It's just incredible the way they compete after facing several matches before. I don't know how they do it. But then Matthew Riddle taking on Dijak. And everybody thought, hey, look, Dijak, he beat Zack Sabre Jr., he won his tag match, and he had victory over John Silver. He could take out Riddle at this point, because he is the ace of Beyond Wrestling. He is the ace. He looks like he's the face, but Matt Riddle put a stop to that. He said, nope, wait a minute, you are not going to win this. This is my time. And Matthew Riddle took it. And so congrats to both Kimberly and Matthew Riddle for being successful in this night of tournaments. I wish I was there to see it. It's all I can say is November 20th, Worcester, in Satire Bowl, Beyond Wrestling. It's gonna be insane, and I can check right now the matches that have been announced thus far. I believe there are a few matches announced. And it's moments like these when, you really miss your co-host sitting next to you, because, while you're talking, they could be looking up the matches. And it's a one-man band for now, as we spoke of earlier. Kevin will be part of the stack card, but it's just taking a temporary break, so therefore I'll be hosting every show, and I have the Stacked Card podcast, which is about an hour long each week. It's a full analysis on everything wrestling, just everything happening in general, and that's what that is. That's still the Stacked Card podcast. Then I have the Stacked 3, which are the 3 top news breaking moments of the week in sports. Now, I know I mentioned the World Series, Romo being back, that QB battle with Dak Prescott, and then to end it, I had Corgan and Dixie Carter, that financial dispute. Where does that leave the state of TNA? So I talked about that, and now I'm bringing you this Beyond Wrestling short here, reviewing last night's event. So I'm going to try my best to stay on top of these things as we move along. Wow. Okay. So in Satire Bowl, and I'm happy I looked it up, because these are some amazing matches. For the first time ever, we're going to have Matthew Riddle taking on Matt Tremont. And if anybody remembers, Matt Tremont and Shug D had what I thought was the most exciting match of last year. In December, they tore the house down, Christmas trees, barbed wire, thumbtacks, whatever, you name it, they did it. Now Matt Tremont is going to take on Matt Riddle, the battle of the mats. Thankfully, I'm not in that match. And Matt Riddle just coming off a big tournament win. So, wow. Then, for the first time ever, the Lees are going to have a bit of fun because Kimberly is going to take on Keith Lee. I mean, normally I don't really enjoy intergender matches just because it's not for everybody. I think, as I mentioned in the past, somebody who's 140 pounds, 130 pounds taking on somebody who's like giant, like 350 pounds or whatever, it's not believable. And that's why I don't like it. But this match, this is going to be amusing, and Keith Lee is incredible. Kimberly is amazing as well, and she just picked up a whole string of tournament wins. She won the whole tournament, so I'm actually looking forward to this match. This might be the best card I've seen, because then we got the final time ever we're going to see Chris Hero versus Brian Fury. Yeah, I mean, that alone could be a main event. It honestly, from looking at this card, Matt Cross versus John Gresham for the first time. Scheduled to compete, Chuck O'Neal. Ilya Markopoulos, EYFBO, Jaka, John Silver, Pinky Sanchez, Tracy Williams. Just from looking at this card thus far, it looks like every match could be the main event. So who really knows? And I really like this header for it. Should check it out. There's a header, which is really awesome. Here, I'll put it up on the camera for you guys. It looks, the theme looks incredible. I like the header, I like the poster for it. And just to let you guys know, this is a 21 plus event, unfortunately. So I believe it is a 21 plus event because Beyond Wrestling 21 plus. Yep. So unfortunately, if you have kids that love Beyond Wrestling, I know there is some people like to bring their families and whatnot. On November 20th, that will not be family friendly apparently. It's mostly, I'm guessing, due to, because it's at Electric Haze. It's a new venue, so might not be allowed to bring in people under 21 due to the drinking age. Because honestly, I mean, we've seen some crazy stuff at Beyond Wrestling, and all ages were allowed in. So, yeah, I think it's just due to venue reasons. They have to do 21 plus. So, with that being said, thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed this show. And wow, I made the 30-minute mark. This is like a Beyond Wrestling after show that we usually do at the events. So hopefully on November 20th, I'll be coming to you live, presenting the Insatiable after show. I'll catch you guys this week, Wednesday. We're going to have round 55 of the stacked card. Thank you all for tuning in. I'll catch you later. Bye-bye.